Okay. So here, first of all, starting up. So general option is like we require web designing. So general option, what comes to first in the mind is web designing is nothing but creating the websites. So if you want to create a website, so first of all, why do we create a website? That would be the first option. Then if we want to create a website, so what all do we require? What all do we have to know so that we can create a website? So this will be the main two options. Now, first of all, speaking of what is a website? In simple terms, generally we say website is nothing but we want to display some information about the particular organization or about a particular business online. Okay, so in that case, what it is, we create a website. But for what exactly do we require a website? Okay, that will be the main option. So here a website is nothing but where we want to display the content. We want to display some content related to a particular business or an organization online. That is, we want to display it on the internet. Then in that case, what it is, we'll be creating a website and we'll be using this. Now, in order to create a website, so we require some options like it may be HTML, CSS, some technologies we use. So based on the requirement, we'll be using some different technologies and then we'll be designing the sites. So here, the main option what we require is why do we require a website? That will be the main concept. So in general, anyone why a website is required? Exactly. So I got the reply that is to promote our business. That is the main option. And the next option is to share company profile to the world. Okay. Simple and best option. If we want to promote, like if you are providing some business, if you are providing some service around the world, then in that case we require, then in that case what it is, we want to go for marketing, then the best option is design a website, put it online so that any user sitting around the world can have a look on this. Okay, so it is nothing but like promoting our business, because they're just putting it on a paper like in the form of a brochure or pamphlet. So it would be just to a particular region, but we want to go beyond this, beyond a particular region. Then the best option is first we require a website. Okay, once the website is done, then how you go for marketing and everything, that is the next part, like that comes under digital marketing. But our main option will be like, first of all, we require a website where we can show the information online. The main option will be we want to display it online so that we can mainly do the business. Okay, we can catch more customers, because nowadays complete trend is just sitting on the mobiles or sitting on the desktops, like whatever service I require. So first I'll go with a search. Okay, so first I'll search on the internet, then I'll just check out some sites who provides the services. Then if the content and information everything is fine, then directly I'll go do the business with that particular company. Okay, so that will be the main option. So here we require a website to do anything. Like if we want to start up a business, the best option to grow. Okay, so main option will be the growth of the business. So if you want our business to grow, the first thing is we require a website. Once the website is designed, then how to go with the search engine optimization or other part, that will be the digital marketing. But our option will be to create a website. Okay, and what exactly a website will consist of, in the sense it is nothing but complete information, like it may be regarding the services, it may be regarding the company, it may be regarding the people working in the company, or reviews, testimonials, contact information. So this basic information of complete company, whatever the profile is there, so we want to put it online, then the best option is by designing a website. Okay, so this will be the main option. That is nothing but we require a website. Website is nothing but to display some content online. And when we want to display some content online, so mainly we require two options, domain and hosting. Okay, So domain is nothing but a name which we define or which we want to give as a unique identity to a particular business. Then we go with this. We require a name so that the people can know this particular company with a particular domain name. Okay. So here it is nothing but a unique identity, an identity of a particular business with which we register online, so that if we want to display, if we want to show our business, then we can directly give this domain name so that the users can check out this. Okay. So here domain name is the first option. That is nothing but we want to display something online. So we require a domain name. Then once someone types this domain name, we require some content to be displayed. It may be text, it may be images, or whatever the web pages we have designed. So we require those things to be displayed. Then we need to first of all save those files, folders, or pages, designs, whatever is there. So we want to save it on the internet, or simply we say on the server. So that server will be linked to this domain name. Then once the user will type the domain name, it will check out which server is connected, and within that server what are the files. So directly that will be open. Okay. So exactly how we do that and everything, so that would be covered in our regular sessions. Okay, just I'm giving you a brief idea of what will be the options. Okay, so here this will be the main option. That is nothing but we want to create a site, we want to display the content online. Then first we create a website, put it displaying the content, applying the styles, and then uploading it on the server and linking up the server to a domain name will be the simple process. So the main option will be like how do we design the websites. Okay, so here this will be the main option, like mainly the growth of the, if you require a growth in the business, we require some communication with the customers directly online. The main option will be global marketing. That is nothing but around the world you can just give your domain name, so anyone sitting around the world can just view on that. Okay, so this will be the main options. Now once we have a website, then we just upload it on the server and link up the server to the domain name. So that will be the complete process. Okay, so clear everyone? Okay. Now our next option is like when we are speaking about websites. So initially, like we need to have a basic idea of what websites consists of, like what type of websites are there. So in general, we'll be categorizing two types of websites: static, dynamic. Okay. So one third option will be there, that is application part. So like in WordPress or Joomla, that will be a different part. But the main option will be creating a website. But again, while creating a website, we'll be first categorizing whether we require a static website or whether we require a dynamic website. So what is the difference in the sense? Just there will be a basic difference. Like if it's a static website, a static site is nothing but generally written in the HTML. Like we'll be using the HTML coding, and once the code is done, so we just display it on the page. Or in simple terms, like what you are able to see is nothing but completely a static. Like for an example, let us take an example. This is one site. Now if you observe here, complete information, okay, or like it may be design may be different or whatever the option, but complete design we are able to see. Only information we are able to see. There are few number of pages, and wherever we click, so we just get the information about that company, about that about their services, about what they serve. So only this will be the option. So this is exactly a static website. Static website, nothing but just the information about a particular organization is displayed. Or in simple terms, you have nothing to do like online chatting, or you need to provide your information or anything, nothing of that. Just what you are checking out. Just complete information is there. It's nothing but a static website. less number of pages, like we can say how many pages we have, so we can just go with this option. So maybe still 1 or 2 pages may be added, or 4 to 5 pages may be added, but we have some specific pages, and only the main option is only information is displayed. Then this we call it as a static website. Okay, so generally we define something like whatever the pages you write in the HTML code, once you define the code, so the same what is getting displayed in the output is nothing but a static website. Whereas if we want to go with a dynamic website, so if I want to get some benefits, or if I want to just go with some options, I can just view the information, but the main option is I need to first log in. So if I need to first log in, then I need to just first sign up. Signing up is nothing but, first of all, I need to give my information to this particular company or to this particular website. Then that particular information will be stored on a database. Once it is stored, the next time if I need to log in, first I need to define the username and password. Then it will check out in the database whether that username and password is already registered. If it is registered, then it will give us access to some pages. If it is not registered, it will display message invalid username or password. So these type of websites wherein they are collecting some data or information from the users, or something written in a server-side scripting language. Okay, so that is completely by using the scripting languages like a PHP, ASP, JSP, all different scripting languages will be there. So if some website is created by using those scripts, in the main option, if I go with a sign up, so I need to fill up the form. But once I fill up the form, so I'll just go with continue, and the end will be submit. But where exactly is going this, and where exactly it is going to be stored, so that we don't have an idea. So as a user, so we don't have any idea of where it is going to store. So that is completely done in the backend. So that itself is nothing but a dynamic website. Static, it's only what we see. There is nothing much more, nothing like contacting directly online, or I'm not filling anything. So if I require something, if I want to utilize something from this site, then simply I'll go to contact. So phone numbers will be there, email IDs will be there. So directly I need to just mail or call them up, then the business will be done. Okay, so in simple terms, okay, static is nothing but just what we design is what we see. Dynamic will be two options. One is we design, so that will be viewed. But in particular options, like there may be some forms, or there may be some information where the user should be providing. Then based on the information, we'll be getting the output. So that would be something like a dynamic. Okay, interaction with the user, then that would be a dynamic website. No interaction with the user, just information is displayed, a static website. Okay, so in the static, we'll be using only basic language like HTML, styling and everything. That will be CSS, and even if you want to use the script, so we call it as a client-side scripting language. Client-side scripting language, nothing but JavaScript. Whereas to create a dynamic website, so either we require PHP, ASP, Cold Fusion, some different languages will be there. We call it as a server side, because whatever we define, so that will be based on the server and the pages. It will be a communication between the server and the pages. Okay, so that will be a complete different concept. So generally we say dynamic website, nothing but designed by the developers. Designed in the sense like, because design we can design, but still that scripting part and everything will be written by the developers. Static websites completely handled by the web designers, because it is the basic option, like we use HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Here, so only basic difference, like mostly basic companies, like small companies, or just they want to display the information, then in that case the clients go with a static website. Dynamic, like if they want to collect some information from the users, and based on that they want to define some options, then that would be a dynamic website. Here we use HTML and a scripting language of JavaScript. We call it as a client-side scripting language. Like for example, here there is a slider. Okay, so this would be just the JavaScript. So wherein if I define some script, if I edit something in the script, then that will be executed in the browser. Because if I make some changes here, so directly that will be executed in the browser. But in case if I'm using some PHP, ASP, if I make some changes, that has nothing to do with the front end. That has nothing to do with the design. That will be directly displayed only in the back end. Okay, that is nothing but in the server. So if whatever we are able to see is nothing but front end, and if there are more number of pages, something like sign in, login option you see, then that would be a dynamic website. So I guess everyone clear with this? Exactly. Okay, static, nothing but written in HTML, displayed in the pages like what we are able to see. Okay, then next moving on. So like we want to start up the designing process. So when we want to start up the designing process, the first thing is we require certain technologies. Now if you want to use certain technologies is nothing but like some languages or some scripting parts or whatever is required. So here, and remember here we'll be completely dealing with the static part. Okay. So because the dynamic would be the developer part, that would be a different course. But here we are dealing with complete static, front-end designing. Okay. Websites design. Okay. So here we want to start up a designing process. So basically we can start up in two ways, depending on the client. The first thing is like if the client comes to me requiring for a requirement of a website, then first thing is I'll just ask them like what exactly their requirement is, like whether they require a customized design, or if some template if I show, so they will be satisfied with the template, so just I need to edit some basic options. So depending on that, like if the client says like they already have an idea of how their website should look, but they want it first to be customized. Okay, they don't want to go directly with some basic template and just start up designing and putting the content. They require complete customization, so that once they are satisfied with that layout, okay, they first require a layout. The layout is fine, they are satisfied with that, then they want to start up with the designing process. So in this case, so the first option is what we do is we start up using creating the layouts using the Photoshop software. So in the graphic designing, there will be different softwares, like it may be Corel Draw, Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop. So among all the softwares, so if we want to design something which is related to web, it may be images editing, it may be creating the layouts. So whatever the options are required, where we want to use for web, then only option is using the Photoshop, because here whatever we create, so we can be able to define that in the units of pixels. Because when we work with the screen, so generally screen in the sense we count resolutions or we define some dimensions in the units of pixels. So in this case, so instead of using Corel Draw, Illustrator, that is completely graphic designing. But still here, by using the Photoshop software, we can be able to create some layouts. So I'll just show you one example. So here you can see, complete one layout, so directly we can start up designing in the Photoshop, because here designing will be easier. Like if I require some shape, it is just a basic shape. I'll just take the shape tool, I'll draw the shape, apply some color and just adjust it where exactly I require. Even if I want to change the color, so then and there itself I can be able to change the color. Okay, so designing will be easier because the client, they require some basic adjustments, some minor changes. They have some their own ideas, so they want us to implement their ideas. So instead of we starting up directly writing up the coding, so best option is use the Photoshop software where we can design the layout. So just by using the shape tools, different tools, like towards website you can see some tools. By using some different tools, it may be text, editing the images, or displaying the shapes and everything. By using the tools, it will be easier. Then once we get a structure, the client is satisfied with this option. Then our next option would be to convert this same layout into a HTML page, because the layout what we create here would be like a reference. Okay, because the output we can convert it into a image, like just for our reference purpose, but it has nothing to do with the HTML part. Okay, only as a reference if you want to give, because at the time of conversion it will be easier for me. Like if I want to apply this color, simple option, I will select this, I'll just copy this code and directly apply the code. So just I'll paste the code near their background color, then automatically this color will be applied. So if I require certain dimensions, I require exact dimensions, then I'll be using some tools. I'll just measure exactly how much is required. So this is exactly 225 pixels. So directly I'll define that 225 pixels. What is the width? What is the height? Because everything we have an idea of here. So in general, what it is, next option of designing will be easier. That is nothing but creating HTML pages, applying the codes, everything will be easy. Okay, but here it is just a reference purpose. It is not like directly we can create a HTML page. It is just for a reference purpose. Creating will be easier, and the client's satisfaction is important. So once the client is satisfied, then we start up the conversion process. This is one option. Or directly we want to start up creating a website, that is by using the main technologies. So that is nothing but the HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then we start up with that itself. How you measure? See, measuring is nothing but different tools we'll be using. Okay, just a sample I'm showing. So exactly how do we use this? What are the options that we use? So everything will be in our regular session. Because in our regular session, this is what we are going to learn, like how to use the software, how do we use the tools. Then using these tools, we'll be creating a complete layout. Okay. So just a basic idea, like what are we going to learn? Okay, that will be the that is what I'm going to give in today's session. So this will be the first option. Like a main option will be designing the layouts, or even like generally when we design some websites, so maybe I require this image. Okay, I may download some image, it may have some different background or anything else, but I need to edit that background, I need to remove some background. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll just open the Photoshop, open that image, edit the image, then save it as a transparent background, then I'll use that image within the HTML page. Okay, that is nothing but editing the images. So we want to edit some images, even we use the Photoshop software. Okay, so for us it will be very useful to learn the Photoshop. So it may be image editing or layout designing, whatever is required. So we can directly do it in the Photoshop, and then we can put it as a conversion, like we can convert that into HTML page, or like we can use some images, whatever is created in the Photoshop. Clear? Okay, so main option Photoshop, nothing but to design the layouts or images editing. Mainly to edit the images, we'll be using the Photoshop software. So I guess everyone clear? Okay. Then our next option is, so either you start up with Photoshop, or directly if I want to start up with layout, like sometimes the clients, they give us a reference site. So they require something similar to this site. Okay, already they'll be giving a reference. This is the site. I require something similar to this, except a little bit difference in some options, like it may be content change or it may be style change in the style. So in that case, directly we start up with creating the pages in HTML, CSS. So our main option of creating a web page. Web page, generally website, we say website is nothing but group of web pages. Like here if you see, home is one page, about is another page, restaurant is another page. So like this group of pages interlinked is nothing but a website. And when we say a web page, basically a web page, if you are speaking in terms of static, so that would be a .html. Okay, that format will be a .html file is nothing but a web page. Dynamically speaking, so you find sometimes like .php or .aspx, so that would be again the dynamic part. Okay, so whatever the file, if you are saving in HTML format, then that would be a HTML file, nothing but we say web page. So when we want to start up design a web page, when we want to display some content or design some option in a web page, the first thing what we require is HTML. HTML, nothing but hypertext markup language. Markup language completely dealing with the tags. Tags to display the content in different formats. Just for an example, here if you observe, this is a text and even this is also a text. But if you observe, this is a little bit different and this is a little bit different. So generally, because we generally speaking, we say this is nothing but some heading we define and then we display normal content. So if I want to display some text in the form of heading, in the HTML we define tag, like there will be some option like h1 tag. But some text, even if it may be a same text, if I define within a p tag, then in that case that will display as a normal text. Okay, so here we'll be using some different tags. You can see an image is there towards right side. So if we want to display this image, so we need to first define some tag. There will be some tag like image tag. Then using that tag, we just attach this file. Then in the output, when we open the HTML page, this image will be displayed. Okay, so the HTML is nothing but hypertext markup language, where we'll be completely dealing with the tags. Tags are nothing but to display the content in the output. Okay, tags won't be displayed here, but what tag we have defined, according to that, the content will be displayed. Okay, like for an example, in general. Okay, so what exactly is that? So again, later on we can check out. So something like this will be defining. So if I'm defining something like this is a heading tag. The main option is I want to display this content on the HTML page as a heading. Then I'll be using h1 tag. Or if I want to display some content in the form of just a normal content, then I'll be using something like paragraph tag. The browser will read these tags and then according to this, the content will be displayed. Okay, so that will be the HTML. Because in the designing process, the first thing is you need to show, you need to first define, you need to first display something on the page. Okay, so this is not the color and everything is not with this HTML. Okay, it is just a normal text will be displayed, just a little bit difference in the sizes. You want to display some images, you want to display some form fields, we want to display some list elements. So that will be completely with the HTML tags. Okay, so I guess everyone clear with this. HTML, simple terms, just we want to display some content in the HTML page, then we use the HTML tags. HTML tags nothing but hypertext markup language. So that language itself is nothing but completely dealing with the tags. Okay, so I guess everyone is getting this. Okay, then moving on. So just let us assume we have displayed some normal content. Once we display the content, then the next option is we require some color to be applied. We require some shadow effect to be displayed. We require some images to be displayed left and right of this particular text. We require to create some dimension, like you can see the content is towards left and the image is towards right side. The general option, if it just displays some content, define some images and everything in the HTML, everything will display just one by one, or it may be in a zigzag order. But we need to arrange the order, like exactly what should be the dimensions, which element should display where, which part of the content should be displayed where. You want to apply some background, you want to apply some colors, you want to change the sizes of the text. So all this will be defined with the CSS, styling properties, cascade style sheet. Okay, nothing but we want, once the HTML content, once the HTML elements are defined, so the content will be displayed in the HTML page. Once the content is displayed, how exactly you want to style the content will be completely with the CSS properties. Okay, so we want to apply some styles to a particular HTML element, then we use the CSS properties. Like it may be font related properties, like what font you want to apply, what size you want to display, what color you want to apply, you want some underlines, you would require some spaces between the lines, background colors, borders, so different properties will be there. But remember, only we can apply the property only to a HTML element. If there is no HTML element, there is no use of defining the CSS. We define CSS only if some HTML element. HTML element nothing but like here whatever we have written. So this we call it as a HTML element. So if I want to apply color to this particular text, then I need to apply the CSS to this particular tag. So the output, the color will be displayed to this particular option. Okay. So what exactly the properties and how we are going to apply and everything. So that would be in our regular sessions. Okay. So just remember, like HTML is nothing but we want to display some content on the page. And once the content is displayed, we want to apply some styles. Then that is the CSS properties. Clear, everyone? Okay. Then once we know HTML and CSS, so generally we do just basic sites and everything we can just design. But our main concept in today's trend, because the latest trend is like most of us already know, like most of us we completely depend on the mobiles, or most of them are using the tablets. So like even I have read somewhere article, now the mobiles are being used more than the desktops, either to search something or to get some information or anything. So there are more mobile users than the desktop users. Okay. So in this case, in today's scenario, if I design a website and if it should be displayed in a mobile, because someone, if the same website, if they are opening in the mobile, so we require the layout to change. Change in the sense that it's not a change in the design, but the layout pattern. Like if you observe here, the content is displaying till here and then image is getting displayed here. Just for an example, here itself, I'll just decrease the browser width. Just check out. So you can see initially it was horizontal, now it is a vertical menu. And just check out, the content is automatically changing. That is the size. Okay, it is flexible. So directly everything displayed one by one. So even if you check out this website in the mobile, so you can see something like this. Okay, there is a change in the pattern, or it may be in the layout. And that is responding nothing but it is changing according to the browser width. That is nothing but we say responsive website. Okay, so because nowadays completely we deal with whatever the site we may create, we can't say the user may check this in the desktop, or they may check out in the mobile, or they may check out in a tablet. So no matter whatever the device may be, so we want to create a website in such a way that it should respond according to the devices in which it is viewed. Okay, so that is nothing but like whatever the design the layout we create, so that should be exactly displaying The main concept will be you should not get a horizontal scroll bar at the bottom. If you get a horizontal scroll bar at the bottom, then that is not a response. Because for an example, so this is one site. Now just observe the content. So if I want to read this paragraph, so first I will be starting up from here, then I need to scroll towards right side. Then again come back, second line, again scroll from the right. So no user will be interested to read the content by scrolling each and every line by scrolling from left to right. Okay, and even according to the latest trends and for the digital marketing people like SEO professionals, so nowadays because the Google search engine will be the main option, so for according to those rules whatever they have, so according to them a responsive website is more flexible than is more advantageous to them rather than a basic website. Okay, and even following the latest trends, so we require a site to be created in such a way that it should be responsive, or simple terms we can say it should change the layout. Okay, so here change in the sense it is not the design, it is just the pattern of the layout. So it should be responding according to the devices, or we can say browser width, because device in the sense it directly don't recognize whether it is a mobile or tablet. There will be some options where we define the ranges, browser width. So based on the browser width, it will be checking out if the browser width is in a specific range. Like suppose let us assume if it is less than 768, but that will be the common option we consider as the mobile width less than 768. So it can be 600, it can be 400, or it can be 300, but anything less than 768. So once the browser width is anything less than 768, then these two elements like text should be full width and the image should display at the bottom. So in such a way, we'll be defining the options. Okay. So it's nothing like a new coding or anything. It's completely using only HTML and CSS. Just following three basic concepts will be there. Like whatever the grids, like whatever the structure we create should be flexible because it should be increasing or decreasing according to the browser width. So you can just observe the text. So directly you can see the content is getting arranged because you have the structure. The block what we create will be flexible. And if you observe the image, so you can see automatically the image is resizing. The images should be flexible. The text will be already flexible depending on the structure. And then the main option will be we require some changes. It may be in some styles. Like in here, initially it was displaying the text and image side by side. But when the browser width is in a specific range, that is getting displayed one by one. So side by side, and anything less than this, that will be displaying one by one. Okay, so so only three concepts will be there. So generally we define everything same like using the HTML, using the CSS properties. So while defining the properties, some basic options will be changing so that we make a page as response. Okay. So the main option will be like according to the user's environment, like where they are observing this, where they are viewing this site. So based on that, even the layout should automatically respond. So we create the websites in such. So we call them as a responsive website. So complete trend. Now complete trend, even a small website is required. So that should be a responsive website. Okay. So clear everyone? Any questions on this? How to apply and what concepts and everything, that in our regular sessions. Okay. So even this will be in our curriculum, like we start up with Photoshop, then HTML, then CSS. Then first we'll check out like how to create the pages using HTML and CSS, like basic pages. Then once we are able to create the pages, like multiple pages itself is nothing but a website. But first we are able to create the pages. That would be the basic site. But once we are able to create the pages, then we need to define, we need to design those pages in responsive. Then how we are going to use the responsive concept. And in the responsive to create a perfect structure, the best option is using the bootstrap concept. Okay. In the bootstrap manual customization, if you want to design a website, we need to define the CSS properties manually. If I'm using the bootstrap concept, already the CSS will be defined. So we need to just follow, like if I require a specific width, what is the name they have defined to that property? So I'll just define that in the HTML. So almost like our 60 to 70% job will be just writing the HTML code. We'll be attaching the CSS file of bootstrap. Just we write up in the HTML code, the structuring and everything will be automatically done. Okay, only the part is like content editing and the images, whatever we require, will be applying. But the rest responsive related options already that will be defined in the CSS of the bootstrap. Okay, so that will be our main concept. So first we'll check out like how do we design the responsive sites, what are the concepts that we define, then even some basic example we can take out, we can check like how we create a page, complete manual. Then we'll be going with the bootstrap concept, what is this concept and how do we use the bootstrap, and using a bootstrap how do we create a page. Okay, that would be in our curriculum. So this will be complete option like just displaying the content, applying the styles and options. Then our next option would be to apply some functionality. Functionality nothing but like for an example, if we click on something, then we require some action to be performed. Or so here you can just check out. So this is a menu, initial horizontal menu. Now it is displaying just an icon. So when the user will click on this icon, then the menu should be displayed. So directly HTML, CSS on click we cannot define. So this would be again the functionality of JavaScript. Sometimes you find up some forms like basic forms, inquiry forms will be there. So without filling anything, if you click on submit, you get a pop-up message like this field is mandatory, this field is required, some message will be displayed. So we call it as the validations. We can do that by using the JavaScript. Okay, so the scripting part. Script nothing but we want to display some functionality. We want to define some functionality to a particular HTML element. If the user will click on this, then what should happen? If the user is viewing this, so what action should be performed? So that generally will be writing up in the JavaScript code. Okay, but here we won't be writing the coding. So just we'll check out like what is this JavaScript? How do we use the JavaScript? What are the elements that will be used in the JavaScript? Because our main option will be, instead of we defining the scripting and everything, we'll be depending on the JavaScript libraries. JavaScript library is nothing but there will be different libraries. Like already some plugin, already some animation will be defined in the JavaScript. So we just download that file, attach to our website, and just link up that JavaScript file to the HTML. So generally we say jQuery. jQuery is nothing but a JavaScript library. There will be a certain method, like if I want to use some slider. So generally writing up the coding and everything will be a lengthier process. But instead of that, like suppose if this is one slider, so only option is we require this to be automatically playing. So it may be 3 images, 5 images, and we require our own images, but we require this concept, like as soon as someone opens, we require the slides to be played. Then in this case, I'll be using this plugin. Okay, we call it as the jQuery plugin, wherein a JavaScript file will be already defined. So this will be the action file, nothing but where they'll be defining the complete options. So you can see it's a long script. So complete developers will be writing the script and everything. Then once this is defined and it is available in the form of plugin, then our option will be to install this. Installing is nothing but just we want to adopt this plugin into our website. Just replacing the images, already will be knowing the HTML. So according to that we define. Replacing the properties or simply defining some additional properties. Like here there may be white backgrounds, I want to change it to color. So already we know the CSS properties, according to that we change the options. Okay, so we want to use some plugins, then generally we use the jQuery plugins. jQuery is nothing but the JavaScript library, wherein already the script will be defined. So our option will be to attach that file and link up that file to a particular HTML element. So here we'll be checking out like different plugins will be there. Maybe sliders, menu related, or galleries, accordions, tabs, even form validations. So different options will be there. So thousands of plugins will be there depending on what you require. So you get a plugin. So here our learning concept will be how to use this. Okay, because there will be only three concepts we need to follow to use a jQuery plugin. Then using that we will be just checking out with different plugins. Okay, clear everyone so far? Okay. Then once we have the JavaScript jQuery, so like using the first we define the HTML, then we define the CSS properties, following the responsive concept, then we adapt some plugins, we apply some plugins within the pages, then using all this complete site will be created. Okay, that would be in our local systems. So initially, like I said, so first thing is like if you're creating a website, the main use of creating a website is like you want to display that online. So if I want to display something online, then the first thing is we require a domain, because we want to give an identity with which the users can recognize my company. So in that case, what we do is we go with registering a domain name. Okay, so this will be the main option. Then only purchasing the domain name is not enough, because the main option is like if someone types his domain name, so they require some content like what are the files we have created and everything to be displayed. Then we need to save these files, because directly we cannot link the domain with the laptop or our local systems, because they require a server operating systems, like it may be Linux operating system. So if I install Linux operating system in my laptop, then I can connect this laptop with the domain name provided, because the file should be stored on this laptop so that it can be directly displayed. But provided this laptop should always be on, there should not be any power problem, there should not be any internet connection problem, maintenance is required, and to maintain that again I need to have an idea of networking, hardware and all those options, or I need to take one system admin who can just regularly be check this option. But instead of we manually doing all these options, so our option would be to completely depend on the third parties. Like you have an idea of GoDaddy, BigRock, HostGator, some different sites will be there, wherein their only work is maintaining the servers. So what we do is we purchase some space on the server, then we upload our files on the server and link up the server to the domain name. Okay. This will be the process. So how exactly we are going to take this domain name? Then once we take the domain name, how we are going to use the hosting servers, how we are going to link up the hosting server with the domain name, how we are going to upload the files on the server. So all this will be covered in our once complete session will be there for domain and host. Okay, so only uses, like we said, domain is nothing but representing an identity as a particular company. And when some users will type this domain name, so some pages should open. So from where does that pages open? In the sense, already a server will be linked to the domain. Within the server will be uploading the files. Okay, that will be the main options. Okay, so this will be also a part of our curriculum, because the main option once we design, so we need to put it online. So once we put it online, then that will be our complete work. Okay, so this will be the main point. So I guess clear everyone till here. So anyone any doubts? Okay. So till here so far what we do is completely manual. Okay, we design the site, whatever is required, then we purchase the domain, purchase the hosting, upload it on the server, link up the server to the domain. Complete customized and manually done. Provided we may require some time, because we need to write up the code and everything, so it may take some time. Okay, depending on like how many hours you are working. So based on that, it's nothing like every site will be completed in only 1 day or 2 days. It's not that. So depending on the manual work, like a manpower, how many people are working, so how you are defining the coding. So it may take 1 day, it may take 2 days, or it may take a week. But provided it will take some time because we need to define the coding. Instead of this, so general option, like I said, so general option will be like a static website, dynamic website, like whatever the website is there, customized. We will be defining the options in our local systems and then put it on. But now what we have is if we have a server, there are some applications, okay, wherein directly we can install a theme and just edit the theme. Okay, so in that case, so here first we design the site locally, then we purchase the domain and hosting, and then we upload the files. But if I want to design a website directly online, so in that case, first, if let us assume I have a server, so I'm just logging into my server. Okay, the client requires some website. So first, what I'll do is, if they have their servers, so the first thing what I'll do is I'll just check out for some applications, like you can see here, web applications. So WordPress, Joomla, Drupal. So this Joomla, Drupal, this will be for dynamic related, like it may be e-commerce websites or some different portals, like job portals will be there, job related. So those will be completely with the Joomla and Drupal. So our here option would be to create a basic website. So if I want to create a basic website, so I'll be using an application by name WordPress. Okay, WordPress is nothing but an application wherein directly we can create a site by using the themes. Okay, different themes we'll be using. So based on the theme, we'll be completely editing the content. Like in for an example, so let us assume this is one theme. Okay, that is for WordPress. So now this is one theme. Just observe this menu design. Okay, so some basic structure. So general options. Generally what it is, if one of the client require a site, like we have designed this. So now you can see. Okay, so there's some basic adjustments changing here and there. So different content depending on the content what is available. But here, if we need to design this, so there is nothing like we define the HTML, or there is nothing like we define the CSS. Our only option, like in when we go to this, like in Photoshop, we use some different tools and we create the layouts. So in the same way, once we install, we'll be installing this application like WordPress. Then once we install, we'll be logging into the WordPress site. So all the steps and everything in our regular sessions will be there. Just I'm showing a brief. So towards left, you can see some different options will be there. Like suppose if I want to display the logo. Okay, so I just want to display some logo. So for me, no need to define the div tag, then define the dimensions and everything. My option is like first I'll just install some theme. So different themes will be there, like what exactly theme is matching according to our requirements. I'll just take up that theme, I'll install that theme. Then once the theme is installed, so our option will be to customize the options. Like options will be given, just we need to select. So here you can see general options, there is something like logo. So I'll just upload the image. So automatically that will be displaying the logo. Because in the theme, we have an option like where exactly it will display and how the menu will be there. So according to that, just will be adding up the menu items directly. This styles, everything will be displayed. Just changing the colors, changing the fonts. So everything will be already okay. It will be much easier to design a website rather than we manually define it. But provided if you take up some theme, so we need to design according to that theme, because the options that will be displayed will be according to that theme. So we need to adjust everything only according to this. We require some customized, like I may require some plugin from one website and another plugin from another website. So in that case, if you require a customized option, then only option is manually we need to create it. Okay. So here it depends. It depends, like whatever the design is there, like mostly the themes will be good, but still sometimes the client require their own options, like they require some different styles or different options. Then in that case, customize. But if they're satisfied with the themes and everything, then directly we start up the design with the WordPress. Okay. So here in this curriculum, we'll be learning like how to install the WordPress. Then using the WordPress, how do we design the sites? Okay. I'll just take one sample. I'll just take one theme, like basic options, like how do we use all these options. I'll be showing you. And at the same time, I'll be providing you a dummy server. I'll just give access to some server. So directly even you can practice. Okay. So this will be the WordPress concept. Clear, everyone? Okay, and then finally we'll be having the AngularJS. See, generally when we say responsive design in the sense like we normally create the sites, but instead of we manually typing everything, what we do is we use the Bootstrap. Bootstrap, nothing but we want to already CSS will be defined. So we say framework. It is a framework of CSS. Nothing but already CSS will be defined. So we just need to use the CSS. The same way, when we say AngularJS, Angular JavaScript, nothing but. So in general, we do define the JavaScript like a length. If I want to apply some functionality, like for an example, if there is a field, so if I want to display something within the field, as soon as the user will start typing within the field, the same should be displayed somewhere else. See, I'm just typing some options here, but as soon as I type here, so you can see directly that is getting displayed here. This part will be that will be JavaScript part, but the same option by using the JavaScript we need to define, it will be a lengthier script. But instead of that, what we do is just a basic option will be the directly in the HTML, like it may be directives or it may be some expressions we'll be using. So directly in the HTML element itself we define some option, automatically that functionality will be performed. Okay, so that is nothing but AngularJS. We say framework. It's a framework for JavaScript. So here we'll be learning like how to install the AngularJS, because there will be a basic file we need to attach. So what file everything we attach, and then we'll be learning what are the components. So in real time there may be many components. Like if you want to learn complete AngularJS, then that would be a complete different course. That would be around 3 to 4 months, 2 to 3 months, I guess. That will be completely, if you are skilled in using the JavaScript, PHP and everything, then this will be useful. Here as a designer, like here, so we just require a basic option, like we want the user to type something, the same should be displayed somewhere else. Here only for example, here it is displayed, but it may be some other content or some other page. So how we are going to display that? In the sense, we can just use the basic option like directives. We'll be using something like expressions. We'll be creating some small applications using this AngularJS. Okay. So this will be the main option, and then I'll be providing a basic like a WordPress. Once we start up, so I'll be giving you the access to the servers, like individual access I'll be giving, so you can just start up the designing process. So once you design the websites, you practice, so, and everything is, if you're doing accordingly, then maybe we consider to give you directly a project, okay, because we'll be also doing the projects. So depending on your performance, like if you're following exactly, if you're being regular, and if you follow exactly the concepts and everything, and generally I'll be giving some task, like after completing HTML, CSS, some basic task I'll be giving. Then once you complete the responsive, I'll be giving some task. Then after completing the WordPress, I'll be giving some tasks. So if all the tasks are performed, and if just for practice, or you can assume like an internship. Okay, so if you want to have a live project, then first, depending on your performance, so even we'll be assigning you the project. Okay, assistance will be given, so we'll be completely assisting you in designing the project, so that even in your resume you can directly put this site, like whatever the project will be working with, directly you can just put it. Or if you already have some projects, like if you already have some project in your hand, then even you can just start up designing the project. So one project will completely I'll be assisting. Clear? And regarding the resources material, so once you start up, so one by one I'll be giving you like how to access those options, because the materials PDF formats will be there. So completely I'll be sharing it online itself, so directly you can just get those options. And daily sessions, whatever we take, will be recorded. And after recording, so I need to just upload it on the YouTube, and the same I'll be sharing. Okay, mostly in 1 to 2 hours you'll be getting that option. So in case if you're missing one session, so before attending the next session, just go through that video once, so that you can understand the next session. Okay, and I guess our administrators might have already informed, like mostly from Monday we'll be starting up the classes. Okay, because we need mostly I'll be taking up one more demo session for other students on Saturday, I guess. So from Monday we'll be starting up those classes. In the meanwhile, so just a small favor we require is like once you just go through this, like after this session, so if possible, like on our official mail ID, like webtrainings.2009@gmail.com. Okay, just send us a mail regarding the feedback, like today's session, regarding today's session, just send us a feedback and the report, like whether if you're interested to join the course and everything, so that our administrator can get back to you and just tell the other details. Okay. So I guess hope everyone has understood today's session, and if you have some doubts